ASFG Stories. We are happy to bring to you these amazing stories from the people that make up our vibrant ASFG community. Stories that deserve to be treasured, celebrated, and of course, shared.
Hi, my name is Matt Bosarge. I am from the Gulf Coast of the United States, the state of Alabama. I am currently the high school librarian and head of libraries at ASFG, and my job is mostly working with students to help them find books that they like to read, to encourage literacy and reading through all the grades in middle school and high school, to work with the teachers, helping teach research skills and bibliographies and things like that. This is my fourth year working in ASFG. Sort of, but I'll get to that later. And what I like most about working at the school is the feeling of family, the working well with my colleagues, the great attitude of the students. It's every day coming to work is fun for me. It's a pleasure. Outside of work, let's see, I like traveling. I like going to the little towns in Mexico. You call it Pobleando. Also internationally. And of course, I like to read. I'm always looking for new things to read. And honestly, I like reading young adult literature. So I stay current and I can recommend good books to the students, but it's also fun for me. I enjoy it.
ASFG Stories. A community kept alive by those who live in it.
I'm going to tell you how I became a rebounder. And a rebounder is one of those teachers who leaves ASFG and comes back. There have been several. I am just one, but I think I hold the record for the longest time away. So it all started back in, I think it was 1999. Ooh, that's a long time ago. I was working at a school in Atlanta, and over 2 years, the population of Spanish-speaking students grew from about 8% to about 40%. Now, I had taken Spanish in college, and I had a little bit, but it was nowhere near what we needed for that school. So I decided to take the summer and go somewhere and study Spanish to improve my Spanish so I could work with the students and their parents better. And I came across a program here in Guadalajara, and I signed up, and I came. I did a homestay and took classes, and I got to be really good friends with my homestay brother, I guess you'd call him. And so he took me to the museums, he took me to the restaurants and all the fun places, and I met all of his friends, and I had a really great time that summer. And so I decided that I really liked Guadalajara, and I wanted to come live here. So after that, I went back to Atlanta for a year and made my arrangements. I investigated schools, places to live, and I found the American school. And I went through the interview process, and they gave me a job teaching in middle school. And so the following year, the school year was 2001, and so I moved here in 2001, and I got a job teaching 6th grade language arts and social studies. And that was a wonderful experience. I had a great team. I had great administration. We did creative field trips. We did creative activities. It was all very great. Around my second year, I started to become interested in becoming a librarian. So I started taking the classes online and doing the work that way. Then I also went to the librarian at the time, Miss Roberta Wren, and asked her to teach me some things and see if I could help her during my planning periods and things like that. So that went on for a few months, and then suddenly, Miss Roberta announced that she was retiring. And I had no plan, but the administration here, they were so supportive of me that they let me move into her position as librarian, and I hadn't finished my degree yet. And so I was working as the librarian and still working on my degree. And so, that sort of shows another part of the atmosphere here at the school, is that they're willing to let you try things and support you in your goals. And so I worked for 2 years as a librarian, in middle school, high school. And then I started to have sort of a midlife crisis. I started to freak out a little bit about my savings and my credit cards and all of the money stuff. And it was a little bit irrational, but I decided to leave and go back to the U.S. and to try to make some money and get my finances in order. And so I did, and I was very unhappy about it. And when I got back to Atlanta, I realized I was really unhappy about it, but I just had to storm through. And I'd always had it in my head that I would like to come back, but I didn't really know how or how long it would take, or if there would be a place for me, or if I would be welcome back. And so after a few years, I got my financial things in order, and I was ready to come back. And at that same time, I got an email, I think it was from David Markman, saying, "Hey, Matt, the librarian position is open again. Would you like to interview?" And I was like, yes, of course. I'm done with Atlanta. I'm done with the U.S. I am ready to come back to Guadalajara. But I didn't know. I mean, they had other applicants. Who knows if they were better than me, more qualified than me. And so it was a little stressful, and I went through the interview process just like everyone else. But then I got a surprise.
ASFG Stories. A community kept alive by those who live in it.
So I was really concerned about getting the job back here because I didn't know how many applicants they had. I didn't know how qualified they were, more years of experience. And so Julie Valand, who was the director of whatever at the time, called and asked to schedule a Skype interview. And so I was like, okay, it'll be Julie and me Skyping and regular interview. And so I get everything set up in my apartment. I choose the best light. I want to look good. I get the cameras all set up and do a double check with my friend on Skype to make sure everything's working. And then the time comes, and I get the call coming from Julie Valand. And I click the button, and I turn on the screen, and it's not just Julie Valand. It's Julie and David McGrath and David Markman and Rafael de la Cruz and the principal at the time of high school, Gabe, and all these people that wouldn't normally be in an interview. And so I'm like, what's going on? And it turned out to be less like an interview and more sort of like a family reunion because we didn't talk very much about typical interview questions. We were just catching up on what was going on. And it was so sweet. It made me feel so happy that they were still interested in me, that they were still my friends. And so that's how I became a rebounder after 11 years outside of ASFG. And now I'm in my 4th year again, and I have no worries about my finances. I'm doing very well, and I might just stay here until I'm 90.
ASFG Stories. A community kept alive by those who live in it.
What is your biggest dream in life, and how would you like to be remembered?
Okay. Moving on from here, I would like to continue bringing stories to people. I love matching people with the book or the story that is right for them. And so I'm going to keep doing that. I'm going to keep working here at the ASFG. I'm going to keep being a librarian. I can see myself doing it for 5, 10, 15, 20 more years, as long as my body keeps going. And I think if you ask me what I would like to be remembered by or for, I think it's kindness and stories. because it's not necessarily what you do for someone or say to someone that they remember, it's how you treat them. And so I always try to treat everyone with kindness, with the bonus of teaching them to love good stories and reading. And that's my story.
And the final question, what's your favorite book?
Oh, no. I have thousands of favorite books, thousands. One that I read over and over again is To Kill a Mockingbird, honestly. It's set in my home state of Alabama, so I see a lot of my childhood there. And it's the way it's written and the story it tells is really, I like to return to it every year or so.
Historias del ASFG. Una comunidad viva gracias a las personas que lo habitan.
We were right, continue.
Oh, thanks. Okay, that was
We're done, baby.
that was the practice. Are we ready?
Do you want to record it again? We can do that.
If it's okay.
It's good.
Okay.
It is good.
Nos vemos el siguiente mes con una historia para ti que estamos seguros que inspirará tu día. Historias del ASFG. Gracias.
And I came in 2001, starting to teach 5th and 6th grade language arts and social studies. Erase that because that's wrong.